Matthew Perry has been open about his issues with addiction. The actor was prescribed Vicodin after a 1997 ski accident, kickstarting his problem with prescription pills. At his worst point, Perry admitted to taking 20 to 30 pills a day while also battling alcohol addiction. In a 2002 interview, he told People, "It wasn't my intention to have a problem with it, but from the start, I liked how it made me feel, and I wanted to get more." What many Friends fans never realized is that Perry's darkest period was during some of the most successful years of his life. The actor did 2 stints in rehab, one in 1997 and later in 2000, all while portraying the lovable Chandler Bing on the record-breaking sitcom. In a 2016 interview on BBC Radio 2's The Chris Evans Breakfast Show, he admitted, "I don't remember 3 years of it. I was a little out of it at the time, somewhere between seasons 3 and 6. Variety critic Caroline Frimke notes that the Friends reunion didn't try to talk about hard truths in the way fans were pleasantly surprised to see during the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion months ago. She notes, "Perry has mentioned in the past about how his addiction struggles impacted his time on the show to the point that he had to enter rehab. The special ultimately declines to discuss any of his troubled experience explicitly, but it nonetheless lingers around the margins with palpable unease." At one point, the castmates talk about staying in touch.
"I don't hear from anyone."
This joke was delivered in such a way that viewers wondered if it was actually the truth. And later on, Perry continued to get real about his hard times on the show, hinting at a darkness that the others maybe didn't share.
"I felt like I was gonna die if they didn't laugh. And it's not healthy, for sure."
Yeah.
You didn't tell us that.
Would it
No?
hurt?
No, I don't remember you ever saying that.
Last week, some fans expressed concern when some interviews around the Friends reunion showed Matthew Perry staring off and slurring his words. Many wondered if going back to this difficult time in his life had caused the actor to relapse. Others familiar with the health issues he's faced while recovering were concerned that something more could be at play. The rumors bounced around unaddressed for days until a source close to Perry offered an explanation. The source told the New York Post, "Matthew turned up to the reunion in April, and members of his team said that he had an emergency tooth procedure that day. That was said to impact his well-being and also how he was feeling. He had been in pain from what we understand, which caused the slurred speech. Obviously, no one wants to film after a procedure, but it happened." The feeling was one of huge sympathy for Matthew, especially in recent days given how people have reacted online. Matthew has told those around him that he is sober and there is no need to worry. It's impossible to think of Friends without Matthew Perry's Chandler Bing, but there technically already was a Friends reunion that took place without him. In 2016, the cast minus Perry gathered for a special dedicated to legendary TV director James Burrows. Burrows worked on Friends as well as other iconic shows like Cheers, Taxi, and Will and Grace. The cast sat down for an interview moderated by Andy Cohen, but Perry's absence was felt. He was in London at the time, in the middle of rehearsals for his playwriting debut, The End of Longing. Perry did submit a short video message to the reunion, but for fans, the 2016 reunion didn't live up to high expectations. So far, it doesn't seem like fans are feeling the same way about the full cast reunion on HBO Max. In the lead-up to the 2021 reunion, people asked the cast what advice they would give themselves if they could go back in time to before the first show aired. They all delivered heartfelt answers, but Perry's is perhaps the most interesting. He said he'd tell his younger self, "Do an 11th season." Friends fans hope that the bit of humor means that the experience wasn't all that awful for Perry, despite how he may have struggled throughout it. If you or anyone you know has issues with addiction, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357.